Good evening and welcome to Kini News. DAP Secretary General Lim Guan Eng has called for Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin to revoke the suspension of Parliament during the recently announced emergency.
DAP Secretary General Lim Guan Eng has demanded Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin reconsider the suspension of Parliament. Lim questioned how MPs will be able to address any shortcomings in the Perikatan Nasional government when Parliament is suspended. He said for this reason, the suspension of Parliament and the State Assembly should be revoked to allow MPs to bring up and compel the PN government to offer urgent financial measures accompanying the MCO to save jobs, businesses and livelihood. If the executive and judiciary branch of government can function normally, why not the legislature, which is the highest level of decision-making in our federal constitution, questioned Lim. Lim said the government had failed to announce urgent financial measures to save Malaysia's economy accompanying the declaration of the national emergency, and this must be addressed in Parliament. He added that the time has come for ministers to wake up and work hard to do their jobs properly, and that Malaysians want the government to focus on saving livelihoods and lives, not on their own political survival or political posts. Yesterday, Pakatan Harapan leaders rejected the rationale behind the emergency proclamation that emergency power is needed to save Malaysia from the pandemic. Harapan believed Muhyiddin was using the nationwide emergency to retain power as he had lost majority support in the Dewan Rakyat after 3 UMNO MPs withdrew support for the PN government.
The Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry has detailed the businesses under its jurisdiction that will be allowed to operate under the Movement Control Order.
The implementation of renewed COVID-19 restrictions began at midnight today, with several states and federal territories returning to the tight restrictions of a full-fledged movement control order. With this, the Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry has detailed the businesses under its jurisdiction that will be allowed to operate under the Second Movement Control Order, or MCO 2.0. The list of businesses allowed to operate is as follows. In a statement, Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Minister Alexander Nantalinggi said this is in line with the government's decision to allow businesses in the trade and distribution sector to operate during the MCO 2.0. He said the Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry, which is responsible for regulating trade and distribution activities in the country, will always ensure the retail, distribution and wholesale supply chain is not interrupted as they are the pulse of the domestic economy. And this is to also give confidence to Malaysians that essential goods will be available. He added that to ensure smooth operations, these businesses should register with the International Trade and Industry Ministry under the COVID-19 Intelligent Management Systems.
Inspector General of Police Abdul Hamid Bador said that a directive has been issued to personnel on the ground to use their utmost discretion to allow those who are stranded to return to their homes before Friday.
Those who are stranded away from their hometowns with valid reasons will be allowed to make interstate travel to return home until Friday, said Inspector General of Police Abdul Hamid Bador. Hamid said the police understand that many people might have gone out of town to visit family members or for vacation and could not return before the ban on interstate travel came into force today.
Saya telah pun mengeluarkan arahan supaya semua petugas di bawah sana buat hari pertama dan kedua untuk menggunakan budi bicara setinggi-tingginya bagi membenarkan mereka yang benar-benar terperangkap ni tadi untuk nak balik ke rumah masing-masing, dibenarkan mereka baliklah esok. Ini termasuk juga mereka yang telah menempah tiket penerbangan mereka nak pergi ke airport untuk menaiki kapal terbang untuk balik ke mana wilayah untuk ke Sabah, ke Sarawak ke ataupun dari sana ke Semenanjung pun kita benarkan ya. Saya telah mengeluarkan peringatan ya, nasihat kepada petugas-petugas di bawah supaya mereka diberikan laluan ya. Begitu juga dengan kenderaan-kenderaan awam, kereta api dan apa semua ya.
Hamid said he had discussed this matter with Senior Minister Ismail Sabri Yaakob, who suggested that police relax the rules to allow those stranded to return home. He added that those who felt that they had been unfairly summoned for violating the standard operating procedure could appeal to the Federal Police Headquarters so that action can be taken to establish the truth.
And now we take a look at the country's latest COVID-19 situation in this segment brought to you by Blue Air.
The Health Ministry today reported 2,985 new cases, with patients in intensive care still trending upwards. There are currently 197 patients in the intensive care unit, with 79 requiring ventilator support. 2 of the cases today were imported. For the local cases, the Klang Valley accounted for 38.1% of new cases. A third of new cases in the Klang Valley are not from known clusters or detected through contact tracing. Selangor recorded the highest number of new cases today with 837 cases. This was followed by Johor with 535 cases, Sabah with 450, and Kuala Lumpur with 289. 4 new deaths were also recorded today. 3 of the 4 deaths reported were from Sabah. The youngest victim was 19. The cumulative COVID-19 death toll in the country is now at 563.
UPCO President Wilfred Madias Tangau has called on the opposition to form a shadow cabinet.
UPCO President Wilfred Madias Tangau has pleaded with opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim to form a shadow cabinet. In a statement today, he said the opposition should form a shadow cabinet within a week and immediately work out alternative policies on the pandemic and economy. He stressed that the opposition must rise up to the occasion in the face of the proclamation of emergency, which he described as an assault on democracy. The Tuaran MP said Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin and his ministers who support the emergency are collectively destroying market confidence and chasing away investments, both foreign and domestic, by creating a double crisis in economy and politics. And the opposition must rise up to the occasion to be an alternative to Muhyiddin's reckless politics. He added that Harapan Plus had wasted time since the collapse of their administration. Despite having about 40 former ministers and deputy ministers, they still did not have a shadow cabinet. Wilfred said the opposition cannot continue with its strategy of constantly attacking Muhyiddin's backdoor government, and must work hard on offering better policies and delivery so they can walk in from the front door with a strong, formidable and convincing majority after the 15th general election. Meanwhile, with more BN MPs expected to withdraw support for Muhyiddin and Perikatan Nasional, Wilfred invited some of them who have no ongoing court cases to join Pakatan Harapan Plus. He called on his parliamentary colleagues Ahmad Jazlan, Nazri Aziz, Tengku Razali Hamzah, and other old friends in BN who had abandoned Muhyiddin and had no court cases to join Harapan Plus to discuss alternative policies for a post-Muhyiddin and post-BN Malaysia. He said MPs have a duty to offer workable and broad-based policies for millions of Malaysians suffering from Muhyiddin's move to save his job with the declaration of emergency.
Deputy Communications and Multimedia Minister Zahidi Abidin is the latest government figure to test positive for COVID-19.
Deputy Communications and Multimedia Minister Zahidi Abidin has tested positive for COVID-19. In a statement, his office today said that Zahidi was tested upon arriving in Kuala Lumpur from Penang on January 11th. He is currently undergoing treatment at the Sungai Buloh Hospital. They said Zahidi's previous test on December 25, 2020 had returned negative. His office added that Zahidi is currently in a stable condition and has apologized for any inconveniences caused. Zahidi, who is also the Padang Besar MP, is the latest key government figure tested positive for COVID-19. Yesterday, the Health Ministry confirmed that Home Affairs Minister Hamzah Zainuddin, Economic Affairs Minister Mustafa Muhammad, and Women, Family and Community Development Minister Rina Harun had also tested positive for COVID-19.
And that's all the time we have this evening. For more stories, head on over to KiniTV.com. Don't forget, we also post the latest headlines to our social media on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. So follow us there to get the latest news updates. Remember that if you're going out, please wear your mask. And if you can, stay at home during this new MCO. I'm Daniel Anthony. Thank you for watching. And as always, stay safe, Malaysia.